I grew up in a small town where people knew almost everything about one another. The houses were close, the streets were dusty, and children played outside until the sun disappeared and their parents called them inside. My name is Amora, and for most of my childhood, I lived with my mother and my younger brother. Life was simple, but it was peaceful. We did not have much, but we had love, and that was enough for us. When I turned 17, my uncle, who had been living in another state, came to stay with us for a while. His name was Uncle Chima. He was my mother's immediate younger brother, and she always spoke highly of him. She said he was the most responsible among all her siblings. He helped her pay some bills when things were difficult, and he always checked on us. So when he said he wanted to spend some months with us because of a job transfer, my mother welcomed him happily. Before he came, I imagined he would be strict and serious because of the way my mother talked about him. But when he arrived, I was surprised to see a man who smiled easily and cracked jokes the moment he stepped inside the house. He hugged me and my brother tightly and told us he had missed us. My brother jumped all over him, asking for gifts, and he laughed and handed him a small toy truck. I felt comfortable around him from the first day. He spoke to me like I was an adult, not a child, and that made me respect him even more. At school, my friends talked about their uncles who shouted too much or acted like mini dictators, but mine was nothing like that. He was calm, patient, and helpful. He even fixed the broken kitchen door the week he arrived and helped my mother repair the leaking roof. After 2 weeks, he settled into the house like he had always lived there. He woke up early for work, came home late, and sometimes brought food for us. During weekends, he washed his clothes outside while listening to music on his small phone. I used to sit nearby and plait my hair while watching him dance to songs from his youth. My mother liked to tease him about his poor dance steps, and he would laugh and continue even more. Everything was normal until one Saturday afternoon when something strange happened. Something that changed the way I saw him forever. It was a very hot day, one of those days when the sun felt like it wanted to fry our skin. My mother had gone to the market, and my brother had gone to play football with his friends down the street. I stayed home because I was tired from school activities during the week. I wanted to wash some clothes, clean my room, and rest. I also wanted to try on the new miniskirt I bought from a thrift shop. I knew my mother would say it was too short, so I planned to wear it only inside the house. When I finished cleaning, I took a shower and put on the skirt. It was a bright yellow skirt that stopped far above my knees. I looked at myself in the mirror and turned left and right. It fit me perfectly. I felt pretty in it. I felt grown. I felt confident in a way I had not felt before. I was smiling at my reflection when I heard the main door open. At first, I thought it was my brother coming back early. I didn't panic. I just stepped out of my room to see who it was. But the moment I stepped into the sitting room, I saw someone else. My uncle. He stood by the door, holding a small nylon bag of fruits, probably something he bought on his way home. He was not supposed to be back so early. He usually returned in the evening. My heart jumped inside my chest. I didn't expect him, and from the way he looked at me, it was clear he didn't expect to see me dressed like that either. For a moment, everything froze. I didn't speak. He didn't speak. The house felt too silent, like even the walls were watching. I wanted to run back into my room, but my feet refused to move. I felt embarrassed, like I had done something wrong. I knew I wasn't, but still, I felt exposed. The skirt was too short. The top I wore was sleeveless. My hair was loose. Everything about me made me feel suddenly uncomfortable. My uncle finally blinked and cleared his throat. He walked past me slowly, as if trying not to scare me. He placed the nylon bag on the table and turned to me. His face looked different, confused, maybe surprised, or something I couldn't explain at that time. "You're home," he said quietly. "Yes. I am," I replied. He nodded, looked away for a second, then returned his eyes to me. "Nice, bright skirt," he said with a small smile. I felt heat climb up my neck. I just tried it on. I'm not wearing it outside." He nodded again. "Okay. It looks good. Very bright." I didn't think the compliment was wrong, but the way he said it made me uncomfortable for reasons I couldn't fully explain. I mumbled a thank you and hurried back to my room. Once inside, I closed the door and leaned on it, my heartbeat loud in my ears. I felt strange. I didn't understand the feeling, but I knew I didn't like it. For the rest of that day, I stayed in my room until my mother came home. I changed my clothes long before dinner and acted normal. My uncle acted normal too, as if nothing happened. But I knew something had changed between us. The next morning, I woke up early and helped my mother prepare breakfast. My uncle joined us later, and he greeted me warmly. He didn't look at me in any strange way. He didn't say anything unusual. He just behaved like his normal self. For a moment, I wondered if I had imagined the entire strange feeling from the day before. But things didn't go back to the way they used to be. One evening, 2 days later, he came back from work while I sat in the sitting room doing my homework. My mother was not home yet. She went to supervise a small job for a neighbor. My brother was also outside. When my uncle entered, I greeted him, and he greeted me back. He removed his shoes and sat on the sofa. For a few seconds, he watched me write. I felt his eyes on me, and I tried to focus on my book. Then he said something that made me pause. "You've grown fast, Amora." I looked up slowly. "Sir?" He smiled gently. "You're becoming a young woman. I still remember when you were a small girl running around with your hair always messy." I forced a laugh. "I'm still that girl sometimes." He chuckled. "Not really. You're different now." I didn't know what to say next. I looked at my book again, pretending to be busy. He didn't say anything else for a long time. When my mother finally came home, I felt relieved. From then on, little moments like that kept happening. He complimented my hair. He complimented my shoes. He complimented my new dress. He asked if boys at school talked to me. He asked if I had a boyfriend. He asked if anyone ever followed me home. Each time he asked something, his voice sounded normal, but deep inside me, something tightened. I didn't know why. Nothing he said was openly wrong. But the way he looked at me sometimes, it felt like there was another meaning behind his words. One afternoon, when my mother was away at work and my brother was not around, he came into the kitchen while I was washing plates. He leaned against the counter and watched me. I could feel his eyes trailing along my arms, my back, my waist. It made me uneasy. "You shouldn't wear skirts that short again," he said suddenly. I froze. "Why?" He cleared his throat. "Because you're becoming a young lady. Men will look at you differently." Something about the way he said men made me think he wasn't talking about strangers outside. I wiped my hands quickly and left the kitchen. That week, I avoided being alone in the same room with him. I stayed in my room most of the time, pretended to sleep early at night, and left for school earlier than usual. My mother didn't notice anything because she was busy with work. My uncle continued acting normal, but I saw the difference. I felt it. Then one night, something happened that left me shaking for hours. I woke up around 1 a.m. because I heard footsteps in the corridor. At first, I thought it was my brother going to the bathroom. But when the footsteps stopped near my door, I sat up. My heart beat faster. The door handle moved slightly. My breath caught in my throat. The door didn't open. After a few seconds, the footsteps walked away. I lay awake until morning, terrified. The next day, during breakfast, I watched my uncle quietly. He acted like nothing happened. He joked with my brother, ate his bread slowly, and talked about the news he heard on the radio. I couldn't bring myself to ask him if he had come near my door. I didn't want to know the answer. But I knew. I knew it in my bones. He was starting to cross lines. Days passed, and I kept avoiding him. School became my safe place. I stayed long in the library, sat with friends, and sometimes walked home with classmates so I wouldn't arrive before my mother. But one Saturday morning, everything came to a painful edge. My mother went for a women's meeting at church. My brother had a school competition. I came home early from buying something at the market. As soon as I entered the sitting room, I saw my uncle sitting on the sofa, shirtless, watching a movie. I greeted him and tried to walk past him to my room. He called my name. I stopped. "Come and sit," he said. I didn't want to, But I didn't know how to say no without sounding rude. Slowly, I walked to the other sofa and sat down. My stomach twisted. He turned to me. "You've been avoiding me," he said with a calm voice. My heart started racing. "No, sir. You think I don't notice?" I looked down at my hands. He sighed deeply. "Is it because of that day? When you wore the miniskirt?" My breath trembled. "I don't know." He leaned forward slightly. "Amora, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. You surprised me, that's all. You're growing. It is normal." I didn't answer. He continued. "You are like a daughter to me." Something about the way he said it felt wrong. His eyes were soft, but not the kind of soft a father uses on a child. Then he moved closer. I stood up immediately. "I need to check something in the kitchen," I said quickly. He smiled a strange smile. "You don't need to run." "I'm not running." I walked away before he could say anything else. I hid in the kitchen until I heard his phone ring. He picked it up, spoke for a few minutes, and then left the house. Only then did I come out. By the time my mother came home, I wanted to tell her everything, but the words refused to leave my mouth. I didn't want her to fight with her brother. I didn't want to break the family. I didn't want trouble. So I stayed quiet. But silence only made things worse. 2 weeks later, something happened that forced everything into the open. It was evening. My mother had gone to visit a neighbor. My brother was outside playing. I was in my room reading when my uncle knocked lightly on my door. I didn't answer. He knocked again. "Amora," he said softly. "I want to talk to you." My heart dropped. I stood still, frozen. After a moment, the door handle turned. My breath caught. I stepped back quickly. Then suddenly, the main door of the house opened loudly. My mother's voice filled the house. She was calling my brother. My uncle stepped away from my door immediately. I heard his footsteps move toward the sitting room. I sank onto my bed, trembling from head to toe. That night, I could not sleep. The next morning, I woke up with a decision burning inside me. I couldn't keep pretending nothing was happening. I couldn't keep living in fear. I went to my mother while she was washing clothes outside and sat beside her. "Mummy," I said quietly. "Yes, my dear. I need to tell you something." She looked at me, her hands still moving in the water. "What is it?" For a moment, the words stuck in my throat. I almost backed out again, but something in me pushed forward. "It's about Uncle Chima," I said. Her hands paused inside the soapy water. "What about him?" I took a deep breath and told her everything. Every strange look. Every strange moment. Every question. The night he hovered near my door. The day he told me not to wear short skirts. The way he watched me. The way I felt around him. My mother listened silently. She didn't interrupt. She didn't react emotionally. But the more I spoke, the more her jaw tightened. When I finished, she stood up, wiped her hands, and said, "Stay here." She marched into the house. I followed slowly, my heart pounding. She entered the sitting room where my uncle sat eating breakfast. "Chima," she called sharply. He looked up, surprised. "What is it?" "We need to talk," she said. From the tone of her voice, he knew something was wrong. "What happened?" he asked. My mother looked at me. "Tell him what you told me." My throat tightened again, but I forced myself to speak. I repeated everything. My uncle's eyes widened. His mouth opened slightly, like he was shocked. When I finished, he put down his spoon slowly. "Amora," he said calmly, "I did nothing to you." "You did," my mother said firmly. "Maybe not with your hands. But with your eyes. Your questions. Your movements. Your behavior." My uncle shook his head. "You're misunderstanding. Don't insult my intelligence," my mother snapped. "You are my brother, but I won't allow you to make my daughter uncomfortable in her own house." He swallowed hard. My mother continued, "You will pack your things today. You will leave this house today." "Mama, please," he started. "No," my mother said. "This discussion is over." My uncle tried to argue. He denied everything. He said he only cared about me. He said he didn't know his actions were affecting me. He said we were misreading everything. But my mother was unmoved. He packed his bags that afternoon and left the house. 4 days, our home felt quiet and heavy. I felt guilty, even though I knew I shouldn't. My mother noticed and sat me down one evening. "Amora," she said gently, "you did nothing wrong. You spoke the truth. And you protected yourself. That's courage. Never let guilt make you believe you did something wrong." I nodded slowly, tears filling my eyes. She hugged me. "Always tell me when something makes you uncomfortable. Even if the person is family." Those words healed something inside me. Years passed. I grew older, finished school, got a job, and moved into my own apartment. But sometimes, when I look back on that period of my life, I think about how different things could have been if my mother hadn't listened, or if I had stayed silent. I learned early that silence is dangerous. I learned that discomfort is a warning you should never ignore. I learned that even people you trust can cross lines. But I also learned that speaking up can save you. My uncle never returned to live with us again. He and my mother remained on speaking terms, but their relationship was never the same. As for me, I healed slowly. And I became stronger. The memory of that day, the day he walked in while I wore the miniskirt, remains in my mind. Not because of the skirt, but because it was the day I realized the importance of listening to my own instincts. My story is not about shame. It is about courage. It is about awareness. It is about protecting yourself, even when the threat comes from someone you never expected. And it is about finding your voice even when it shakes.